So welcome everyone once again to the another session. Today let's understand about the types of projects. Yesterday when we were talking about the various topics, so we understood the very minimal and the basic information about what is SAP, what is ERP system stands for, what are the modules that I can relate with a business requirement that is available in SAP. Whenever you talk about any department in organization, each and every department is termed as your module in SAP. Very simple. One department, you can relate that as a module. Okay. Now we spoken about 3M. This is generally is also called as a 4M. Okay. When I want to say 4M, the fourth M will be like, let me say 4M. So far we are talking about men, machinery, and money. There is something called material as well. This is one of the crucial thing in any organization. If you see, majoritarily, these are the 4M that we deal with. Okay. So let's continue and see what is the other things that we have whenever we wanted to work in any project. So we have touch based here and started understanding previous versions like R1, R2, R3, and current latest version, whether which version that we are currently working in, right? S/4HANA started in 2025, and the latest version available is like in the not for a practice, but in a market, it is already 2026 version, it is already available. Okay. So when SAP S/4HANA, they started in 2015 with some of the features. Then slowly they've been increasing or adding more features day by day. With that, today we can see cloud versions as well. What do you mean by cloud? Completely the software is hosted on a cloud and pay as you go or pay as you use. Cloud versions are little flexible in terms of usage. Now, let's say if you purchase something, any product, you need to pay for an entire product. Whenever you are using shared services, you guys might have seen this very clearly. Let's say if you purchase a car for you to travel to the office, you need to bear all the cost, right? But when you use any private cabs like Ola, Uber, XYZ, you pay very little. If you go to office or if you use a trip, you will pay it. If you are not going for a trip, you don't need to pay. Whereas if you buy a car, whether you use it or don't use it, you already spent a capital. I mean, you invested on it, which is a capital expenditure for you. Huge money you invested. On top of that, you need to go for a regular maintenance or a service, I would say. Regular service, you need to manage it. If you don't give it for a regular service, what happens? It won't function as expected, right? To maintain that in a same manner, you need to make sure you have to maintain this or make sure you do the regular periodic services as well. If you don't want to handle all that stuff, what is the next thing? I don't have a parking space or I don't have a time to manage the car. I cannot take care of it. I cannot take on time for our services because of my nature of job, or that is not something my cup of tea. I don't want to invest huge money initially. Then what companies will do? They will go for a low investment option. As and when you use, you pay for it. That is cloud versions. In a cloud versions, what happens? Cloud version is shared by multiple users, multiple companies, not just single users. One user is nothing but here, one company. Let's say one client, for example, or a one organization, one business who is using cloud version. You also use cloud version. I'll also use a cloud version. All of us, what we will do, we will share that cloud space. Let's say you guys might have heard about Amazon Workspace, right? AWS or a Microsoft shared services. There are many companies who are providing a shared services. It is like a cloud where we will host this SAP as a service. You call it as a SaaS, software as a service. SAP, they will host this in their own servers and they will provide access through cloud, which is online. Number of users, whatever the number of users you need, you just pay for that. And what is the data storage you need, you pay for it. If you need 1 TB, you pay only for 1 TB. If you need 10 TB, you pay for 10 TB. This month you have a 20 users, you pay for 20 users. Next month you have only 10 users, you pay only for 10 users. That is where the cost might fluctuate. depending on what you are using it. That nowadays, a lot of companies prefer this as well because whenever they wanted to reduce number of employees, all of a sudden, once you purchase the software, you cannot reduce that cost. Still, you need to incur that. SAP implementation takes a huge money for a companies. Now, whenever they wanted to implement like this, you need to understand maybe it is not our cup of tea to know what is exact cost for them it is costing. That is someone else will take it. But as it is an expensive matter, we need to understand why companies would prefer cloud versions. Now let's understand slightly about versions of SAP, right? Versions that is available. When I say versions, we already talked about ECC and S/4HANA so far. These are the two versions at a major level you will understand. After that, in S/4HANA, again, we have variations, different versions again. Let's say, I would say on-premises version. What is on-premises version? This is something in an offline mode. It has been installed on your private server. Let's say those who learned ECC earlier in olden days, maybe not too old again, maybe until 2020 or prior, those who started learning SAP, you might have learned ECC. When we learned ECC those days, we used to install SAP software in our laptop. You used to install SAP software complete bundle in your laptop and you keep login whenever you want. You don't need internet. You can simply continue using it. Okay. And you used to enjoy that in your personal laptop. But for a companies, what they will do, they will install in their company server. They will install a separate server in their office. Once you install this SAP, they will create users from that server. And for these users to access from this server, obviously you need to connect to internet. Okay. That is the requirement for internet. But on-premises is something which is installed on a private server, which is accessed only by that company employees. Whereas in other versions, like a cloud versions, if you talk about a cloud versions, there is something called public cloud. What is public cloud? It is shared by many companies or I would say clients or organizations. You can call any name. Public cloud is shared by many people, just like a Google Drive, what we are sharing it. Google Drive is hosted on a Google, but you no need to physically maintain hard disk for it. If I want data in my laptop, what I will do, I will install a hard disk or I will purchase external hard disk and store all the data. That is your on-premises. You manage all your space. What is cloud? I don't want to manage my space. I want little flexibility. Whenever I want to access, I wanted to access it. That is cloud version. When you host your software in a cloud, what happens? Whenever you want to access from anywhere, you can access it. Just with the internet, you plug in, you authenticate with the credentials. Maybe you use a two-factor authentication or whatever the security you want to use. You continue using it. That is public cloud. Now, when we talk about private cloud, this is also similar to your public cloud, but only difference is it is dedicated to one organization. If you wanted to use for yourself, you can use on your own. Whenever you wanted to use the shared services, like along with others, I wanted to share the cost, then you are going to use it. Doesn't mean that your data is shared with others. It is only the space is shared, but you still have your separate space within that cloud as a secured one. SAP will take care. Maybe let me put this way where you can easily read this. Okay. On-premises is something that you install SAP software on your own servers where you need to manage everything, hardware, software, and everything. Later you need to manage. Whenever there is a software related issues, SAP related issues, then you can contact SAP to provide a service or a support. As and when we approach, they will charge depending on the criticality. And public cloud, it is hosted on a cloud where directly multiple companies can access from the same space, which will be relatively lesser cost compared to private cloud. Okay. And those who don't want to take the shared services, think about public cloud is like going by a pooling with others in a car. Whenever you want to travel from one place to other place, you will travel in a public transport or using any other private car again with a pooling. There are the multiple people who share with you, right? And private cloud is like dedicatedly for you. You hire a separate car and travel it. Okay. And that's how a software is managed. We'll talk very detailed later as well how these versions are used. Currently, we go with on-premises version. In our training, we'll continue with on-premises version, so which will help you to understand better. On-premises version, which is a 2023 version, is what we are going to use. Though the latest version available for a commercials only is a 2026. For a learning purpose, so far in a market, we have 2023 at affordable price. If I want to go for 2026 latest version, you will see slight changes, but interface and everything remain exactly the same. Nothing much differences. If you learn 2023 version, still you can manage 24, 25, 26 versions also. Okay, later we'll deep dive and understand how SAP version to version changes. That's a part of our course to understand whenever we are talking about. Okay, now for us to continue, whenever I wanted to work with SAP, or I want to implement SAP for my business or for my client or one of our organizations. As a consultant, what are the things I need to understand? Whenever you wanted to start implementing, first thing you need to understand what is exact need for them. For that purpose, you need to understand from a business point of view, why do they want to use SAP as their ERP system? The first requirement for anybody to prepare quick financial statements from using all the resources from all the transactions that they have posted during the year ends or a month end whenever they need. Quarterly results companies want to publish, hourly results and yearly results they want to publish. But to publish all this, they can't prepare manually all these financial reports like profit and loss account and balance sheet because it's a huge data. You have a huge number of transactions which has been posted. You need to make sure each and every transaction has been properly accounted and has been properly treated and has been reconciled. Only then you will be able to confirm your financial statements they are accurate. Otherwise, what happens? There will be a lot of inconsistencies. Nobody would want to go for a corrections again and again. If it is a one-time correction for a mistake, that is okay. But if financial statement something went wrong and you already published to the market, I mean in the public, and you realize later there is a mistake. So nobody would take this kind of risk. Okay, let me correct and publish one more time. This is not something, a small thing that you will do it. Any mistake that you are doing before you publish financial statements has to be treated very seriously. Once mistake is committed, gone. Your reputation is gone. People who looks at your financial statements will lose the trust. The investors may not be interested to invest in your company. To take care of that, what businesses will do, companies will do, they will first thoroughly verify all the financial statements on time. If I want to prepare my all financial statements on time, I need to make sure I will interpret all the data for that period in short period of time or within the scheduled timeline. So let's say I'm ending my financial year this year by 31st March, maybe next month end. When is the ideal time for me to publish my financial statements for this financial year? At the earliest, maybe somewhere in the mid of April or max to max by mid of May. I don't want to delay beyond May. For that, let's say I have 30 to 45 days of time. As per compliance, you might have a little more time. Doesn't mean that you need to wait until the compliance time. But you need to publish your statements at the earliest. If business wanted to publish these statements at the earliest, what are the ways, better ways for me to achieve is, that's what they will think about it. Whenever they think about it, ERP systems comes into picture. Which ERP system can make this faster way? That's where SAP comes into picture, one of the ERP system which helps them to manage all the resources like we discussed, all 4M that they can manage it. All these 4M can be managed with the help of your ERP system. Okay. Now, whenever we as a consultant are starting our journey, the first journey for any company, not our career journey that I'm talking about. Let's say I'm talking about our first thing, particularly for a business. Whenever any business, they thought about it, okay, for me to manage all my resources, I wanted to host a new software. I wanted to manage all my services, all my financial accounting related matters in SAP. They have taken a decision to do that from SAP. Now, if they want to implement this SAP, first thing comes into picture is implementation. We need to understand how are they going to start this implementation. In our training also, what we will do, we'll start with this implementation, considering that this is one of the high weightage project in any resume as well. If you say that you have implementation experience, there is a high chances you will be filtered for the next rounds. If your resume does not show implementation experience, like I mentioned earlier, you see very less chances that you can go to the next round of it. Okay. With considering that, we will understand very deep about implementation project starting from now. I'll start about implementation project. Once we complete this implementation project, then we'll jump on to the next type of project. Even before that, let's understand what type of other projects are available and for us to understand it better. Okay. Now, if I want to understand implementation project, what is implementation project? In that, what are the variations available? Under implementation, there are multiple things again. So let's say if I say implementation project is a first type of project, there are other projects like greenfield implementation. We need to understand these things. I would say greenfield project or a greenfield implementation. What is greenfield? This I would say completely a new implementation, which means first time implementation. So whenever any organization implementing for the first time, which means so far I had a different ERP system or I don't have anything. Otherwise, it's a completely other than SAP system. So far, I'm using different ERPs. Let's say so far from, let's say some company is using Oracle or Microsoft, or some company might be using Tally, or somebody was using Zoho Books, something like this. Not many other things, anything other than SAP, I would say. Okay, in simple. From other to SAP, I wanted to move. This is called your greenfield implementation. So here you will see a lot of variations, a lot of things to understand. Why companies are always looking for a candidates or a consultants who comes with implementation experience, particularly the greenfield implementation, is you might have seen different things in your career. How to handle whenever I wanted to implement one project, whenever I want to implement SAP from non-SAP, how am I going to do it? That is the good experience they wanted. A person who knows this then can manage any other projects very easily. If you know greenfield implementation, brownfield is a simple, and any other implementation or any other project that you want to do it, which will be still simpler. Okay. Now, apart from greenfield, what else? Maybe, and I don't want to talk about all the colors here. It's that's how the naming has been given in the industry. Now then, there is greenfield and also the brownfield. Okay. We talk about brownfield. This brownfield, whenever I say the brownfield implementation, this is something I would say in simple system conversion. What do you mean by system conversion? Let's say you are using, for example, SAP version earlier, but it was in ECC. You are using so far ECC system, but you wanted to convert to latest S4 HANA. Okay, going forward, I'll call this just S4. Whenever I say S4, just understand it is S4 HANA. So we are going forward. We've been using SAP ECC since maybe 2000, and we are in 2026. Last 26 years, this organization enjoyed ECC and they like this product to continue. But I wanted to upgrade to the latest features. There is a Fury in S4 HANA. I wanted to enjoy all the Fury capabilities that is available. Then you need to upgrade to S4. In ECC, those Fury applications are not supported. Now business is expanding. They wanted to continue using SAP. Now they are planning to switch to, switch to the latest version, which means they are upgrading. They want to convert their system. Currently, I'm using same SAP platform, but I want to convert this to S4 HANA. That conversion process, we call it as a brownfield implementation. What we will do, we'll start with a greenfield implementation. Then we'll also understand brownfield implementation later. Okay, if you are able to complete greenfield implementation project, then others will be like a cakewalk for you. Nothing to worry. Okay, these are the two critical projects that we need to understand whenever we say implementation projects. Okay, this is your types of projects that we are discussing about. Okay, now the second type of project, if I want to know, is once I'm done with greenfield implementation or a brownfield implementation, which is like I have implemented for one specific region. Let's think about it. Maybe I started with India. I have implemented in India for Indian organization. The same company, they have their operations in other country as well. Let's take any company whom we call it as MNCs, right? Multinational companies. Those who has their operations in more than one country, we call them as MNCs, right? Like, let's say, can anybody name me some examples for MNCs? What are the MNC companies that you are aware about? Any MNC names?
Accentures.
Accenture,
Capgemini,
Capgemini,
Genpact.
Genpact. You guys can understand it. What do you mean by this one? I believe, hope all of you are able to connect. What do you mean by MNC companies? So a company who has their operations not only in one country, they are spread across multiple countries, right? There is no one particular list of countries, I would say, but you can understand there are multiple companies. There are too many companies whom you can call it as MNCs, which means they have their operations in more than one country. So most important thing what we need to understand is whenever we start any SAP implementation, none of the companies will implement SAP all of a sudden or at once for all the countries. Why? The first reason, it's a risky. What if something goes wrong? For that reason, what they will do, they will experiment or they will do the pilot project. You guys might have heard about something called a pilot projects, right? So pilot is nothing but proof of concept. First, I will implement for one country and let me see how it goes. Based on that, I will take a decision to implement for other countries. Now, let's say I will do a greenfield implementation for India. Then I'm done with India. I like it. Maybe I started using in Indian company code for 6 months, 1 year. The management is absolutely fine. They don't have any concern. Here and there are the small issues that is okay, that can be fixed. That is ongoing stuff. But overall, if they want to take a further decision, they like SAP as ERP system and they want to extend the same implementation in another country. Now, what they will do, whenever I want to implement this for another country, I need to implement the same thing for other country as well. Now, this country to other country, what is the major change? Maybe the local requirement, local reporting requirement might change, but rest everything remains same. If you go there, do you think the journal entries rules will change? Debit and credit, country to country. Anywhere in the world, whatever the accounting principles you use, debit becomes debit, credit is a credit. If there's a payment is happening, for example, you want to make a payment to your vendor, still you make the same journal entry. In India, whatever the journal entry you write the same thing in Arab, you write same thing in UK, you write the same thing in US as well. But what changes here? Maybe slightly the rules, let's say some compliance things may change. In India, if I want to prepare my financial statements, what is the financial year that I use? Financial year in the sense which month where I start and where I end my financial year. In India,
from April 1st to
this is April to March.
March
This is what
31st.
simple we call, right? April 1st to March 31st of the next year. Let's say we started the current financial year, we call it as a 25-26. I started in 2025 April 1st. 2026 March 31st, I'm going to end this financial year. The new financial year again will begin from 2026 April 1st. That is for the next financial year. Similarly, if I go to different country, let's say USA, do you think in US also will follow April to March? Is it same? Anybody who worked for US clients or you have seen that? Certainly not. Certainly not, right? So anybody has any idea what is the financial year used in US? Mostly it will be Jan to December. Okay. So they will follow US GAAP. Okay. In their local GAAP. If they want to follow, they follow US GAAP. In India, what is the thing that we follow? In India, we follow Indian accounting standards, right? Which is IAS. Okay. Yeah, IAS, or you call it as IndAS, Indian accounting standards. Okay. And country to country, they will have their local requirement. They need to report their financial statements in their following or complying with their local gaps. And also for a group reporting purpose, they might use a different accounting standards, but generally we need to comply with local GAAP along with the taxation rules. Let's say in India, and a capital gains or my income is charged with certain slabs as per Indian income tax rules. The same tax percentage may not be applicable in different country. That country will decide what is the tax rate for a business. Let's say in India, wherever I go, let's say for example, all the states will follow common thing, that is GST. If I think about GST, it remains fixed. Maybe product to product it varies. But if you take anywhere, let's say on a car, if you purchase luxury car, they say it is 30% or a 40%. If it is a normal cars, you may charge that 10% or 18% of GST, right? Something like that. Wherever you go, GST portion remains the same in India as per Indian account taxation rules. For salaried employees, the tax bracket remains across for everyone same, 0 to 5 lakhs or 0 to 12 lakhs, whatever it is applicable, it will remain the same. But if you go to different country, that changes. Now, in implementation project, what we will deal as per that country's requirement, I have implemented for one country. Now I want to implement the same thing for another country. Similar thing, majoritarily it will be the same, but only slight changes depending on the local requirement, like taxation rules and also other things will vary. Those things, what you call it as, this is called rollout project. In a rollout, what we do, we'll use something called a global template. When I use global template, generally in a rollout project, what we do, we will create something called a global template. In the global template, you already have a standard configuration settings. We prepare one global template, which means one company code I will create with a global template name, which will contain majority of the settings, majority of the stuff remains the same. Only country specifics, country to country, there are certain things will remain. Those things will change. Only country specifics will change. Rest remains same. Maybe let's say India, whatever you implemented, how are you treating here? Let's say the posting rules, it remains the same here. So what is the vendor statement pattern? It remains the same. Whenever you wanted to issue a statement to your customers, what is their outstanding dues, you will also do the same thing in both the countries. Whenever you are purchasing, you will issue invoice in both the countries. The process remains the same. Only accounting treatment here and there, depending on country to country, it might vary. That's the only difference. Okay. Otherwise, it will be the same. Right? Wherever there is a slight changes, what we will do, we'll create one global template and copy the global template as it is, and we'll make changes as per country specifics. That's what we do in rollout project. Rollout, now I'm doing for, let's say, US company. So the same company that is there in India, I implemented as a greenfield implementation. After that, I'll go for a rollout. Now I'm doing for a US country rollout for the same company. Now, if I want to take an example, let's say Walmart example. Walmart is there in India, or otherwise, let's talk about Tesla. Tesla been there in US and they started their operations in India also now. Whenever they start their operations in India, they want to implement SAP for India country. Now, what they do, they will copy the global template from US, whatever they have it, and they will make country specific changes as per Indian accounting standards, as per Indian income taxation rules. What are the changes that they want to do? Only those things you need to make it. Rest everything remains the same. That's how we do the rollout. I'll show you the rollout as well in upcoming class, how to do the rollout. But for you to understand what is rollout, it is implementing or extending similar thing for other country. I'm extending this to other country or other maybe company code. You have a lot of subsidiaries, maybe within the company also, within the country also, you can have a different changes what you want to do it. Anything that you are implementing for the first time, that will become a greenfield. Anything after that will become all the rollouts. Okay. You cannot do greenfield implementation again and again for the same company. If it is a new country, in India, you completed greenfield. In US, you cannot say again greenfield because major structure is already there. SAP has been already procured. Everything is already there. And it is just an extension from one country to other country. That's it. Whenever you are doing these extensions, that you call it as a rollout. Okay, that's the one thing you need to remember. So we will see this. In upcoming sessions, we will see clearly how to do the rollout, what are the things I need to take care, what are the things I need to understand. First, once you understand a greenfield, like I mentioned, others understanding will become very simple. Okay. Rollout, okay, let's assume that in India you implemented first with a greenfield. Okay. And then you did extension to other couple of countries like US, UK, maybe China, Japan, Malaysia. And now, once you're done with that, what you need to understand is maybe parallelly you might do this, or company code to company code, or country to country, you can do that separately. There's another thing, something you need to take care. Now, let's say that so far this company is not earlier they were not using SAP. They were using something like Oracle, Microsoft, Tally, Zoho, or a different ERP system. Now, what is the most important thing that I need to take care is whenever I'm moving to the new ERP system, I already have a huge data like all my customer information, vendor information, all my assets information, everything in the old system. Do you think we should take that data here along with us whenever I'm moving to the new system? Or should I leave all that in the old system itself and let me forget about all that financial numbers and let me start fresh here? What would be the approach?
All the old data should be captured.
We need to get that old data as well.
Yeah.
Now, think about it. Company, whoever planning to use SAP as their ERP system, one basic role, it is not just that they started business very recently. They've been existing in the world since at least a couple of decades, minimum 20, 30, 40 years company. Otherwise, companies all of a sudden may not be in a position to invest so much money for ERP unless they have a huge turnover. Think about it. Companies who has a huge turnover in the sense, all of a sudden nobody will get the turnovers. You need to exist in the market for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Only then you will be able to reach to that level. You need to sustain to the market conditions, competitions. For initially, you struggle to reach the BEP. What is BEP? Break-even points. Initially, we struggle to reach break-even points that take a couple of years for any organization. Luckily, some may break in the year one itself, but majority will take 5 years. Once 5 to 10 years, only then you will start seeing the profits, right? Once you're done with that, then over a period of time, you have accumulated huge number of vendors, huge number of customer base. Nobody would want to miss that, right? I can't build again my new customer base. I want to carry forward all the relations. It's just a system I'm changing. It doesn't mean that I need to leave all that, right? Whenever you purchase a new house, do you leave all your relations and you start building a new relations and friendship again? No, right? That will continue. You have to carry all the legacy. That is a legacy. What you need to do is we need to migrate all the data. Okay, we'll call it as a migration project. Okay, here what I do, I need to take care all my old data in the sense, old in the sense legacy. We always use this term called a legacy. Whenever I say legacy, think about a old system prior to SAP implementation. That legacy can be this Oracle, Microsoft, Tally, Johor, it could be anything. From legacy to SAP. Data migration, what I need to do, whatever the data I already have in my legacy system, I have to transfer or I have to copy or I have to carry into SAP. How am I going to do that? As a SAP consultant, what are the things you need to first do for a data migration? Okay, that is what we understand in migration project. How to do that is one of the important project. You will see whenever you are doing fresh implementation, particularly, you will have this migration project mandatorily. Here, there will be a dedicated MDG team as well. You can expect MDG. What is MDG? Master Data Governance. There is a separate team called Master Data Governance who will take care about all the data migration. Along with them, the FI consultant has to support them from FI side. What are the things that they require? Now, MDG team might require a lot of information. They may not directly face customer, means the company. Okay. Fine, I think I can do that. Don't mind, Rishkant. So you can avoid that. Okay. All right. So whenever we wanted to do that data migration, we check with customer, I mean the business team. Whenever you talk to business team, as a FI consultant, they will provide all the information. Now MDG team will be in a close contact with the functional consultants to provide all the required information. Then they will take care. They will have certain templates, how to migrate the data. In our upcoming sessions also, we will also use multiple data migration tools. I'll show you how to use DMC, which is a data migration cockpit, or you'll also call it as migrate your data. That is available only in S4HANA. This feature is not available in ECC. In ECC, when I talk about it, particularly what you see, there are two things. One is LSMW. Those who already learned SAP, they can easily relate this, but we'll talk about it later. So LSMW is one of the old tool as developed by SAP from ECC days. When they started a SAP system, they started maybe somewhere like 2010 itself, all these LSMW options, or even before that. You see from 2000, the LSMW feature was available. But slowly, they will also understand, right? Due to the changed requirement in the future, you need to upgrade ourselves. You need to change all these features, how we are working. Maybe earlier LSMW was okay. But as and when we grow, this is not sufficient. Along this LSMW may not fit for everything. There is a limited capabilities now. Beyond that, I wanted to leverage SAP. How do I do it? That's where SAP has came up with later LTMOM. So LTMOM is like again limited. This is up to 2019, or I would say generally 1909 version. 19, how you understand SAP versions, first two digits is a year, next two digits is a month. When I say 1909, 2019 September version. Until 2019 September, this LTMOM was there. From beginning, LSMW was there. This S4HANA came in 2015. From 2015 to 2019, you could see when S4HANA started in 15, from 15 until today, you can see 15 to 2019, you can see LTMOM. After that, LTMOM has been retired completely. This no longer is available. Now there is something called MYD, migrate your data. Okay, let me put this in full form. Migrate your data, call it as MYD. So this comes from 1909 to till date. Okay, this is how you need to understand. Maybe otherwise, let me put this way so that you can understand it better without any confusion. I want you to, whenever you are talking in interviews also, they will try to understand from which year to which year you work. If you say that you already worked, started working from 2018, and they might be curious to see 2018 falls between this, right? When you started your career, which version did you started using it for a data migration? If you say that you worked in a data migration project during 2018, and if you say that you are already familiar how to use migrate your data tools, but if you say that you started using in your first project in 2018, migrate your data, is it possible? That logical thing we need to understand. Whenever you are preparing your resume, you need to take care of this kind of stuff as well. Earlier in 2018, this MYD was not there. Migrate your data was not there. How can I work on it? Maybe you need to slowly start understanding all this stuff and keep in mind while preparing resume, while talking to anybody, which terminology to use, which terminology not to use. Or whenever you are using this LSMW, LTMOM or migrate your data, which year to which year it was there. Okay. In S4HANA, still your LSMW, migrate your data, both are available. This is the only thing which has been retired now. LTMOM is no longer available wherever you go. You can't see this. This is old dated. So LSMW still available, migrate your data still available in S4HANA. If you want to use LSMW, you can still use. Functionality still remains the same, whatever it was there in ECC. But migrate your data is the latest advanced one, where you can see a lot of features, faster way than this one, faster than LSMW, and simple than LSMW. That you will experience it. That you will only tell later which one is easy. Which one is easy. But we will do in our classes both LSMW and migrate your data. We'll use both the tools and we'll migrate the data from legacy system. We'll pick up some data from legacy system and I'll show you. I have huge number of vendors, huge number of customers, huge number of GL accounts that I want to migrate. I don't want to get rid of all the data, right? I have to carry forward. And I want to carry forward all the open items, all the opening balances for all the accounts. My vendor open balances, customer open balances, GL account open balances. I need all of them to carry forward. How do I do that? It contains a huge data. Think about it. We already know that a company will have few lakhs of invoices or a few lakhs of transactions every month. When there are a few lakhs of transactions, think about last 10 years or 20 years, the company who been using X ERP system, the legacy ERP system, how many transactions would be there? All that bulk transactions, can I sit and do one by one? Practically impossible. If I want to do that, I need few thousands of employees who has to dedicatedly sit and work and reconcile everything for a few months, which is unnecessary cost. Nobody would want to do that, right? But using your migration tools, you can complete in less than 1 week or less than 1 month, max to max. Why we take 1 month? Because we have to thoroughly understand and break up the data and load one by one. Otherwise, you can do everything in 1 week max. You completely do GL accounts one day, you complete fixed assets one day, you complete all vendor master data one day, customer master data another day, maybe all the open items on another day. Likewise, you can complete in a week or 10 days. Okay, but we will spend at least 1 month to properly update all this data. But we will understand how to use migrate your data tool, LSMW tool, both in our training. So you will see that. Okay, that's what happens in your migration projects. Particularly, you wanted to migrate the data. Okay, that's the most important thing that we need to be aware. So then once you're done with your migration, what happens? Most probably there are a few more things which comes there, like your testing project and other things. But still, let's see. The most important thing you need to understand is support project, or you also call this as AMS. Okay, so this happens for almost all the companies. Whatever SAP implementation happened for any company, they will reach finally to the support phase. You need to either go with a greenfield or a brownfield implementation, depending on where you are standing. Then if required for additional countries, you will also do the rollout. Once you're done with a greenfield implementation, for example, for India, and you have to give this for a support, what it will happen? There will be a separate consultants or a companies who will provide support as well. It is not completely a different companies, I mean. The implementation partner will talk about the more terminology, something called implementation partner. Who is implementation partner? Who is support partner? We need to understand this. Let's say now I'll take one example. There is something called a client first. The client is, let's say, the company who want to implement SAP, right? Now let's say British Petroleum. Okay. British Petroleum, in short, I'll call it as a BP, is the client who wanted to implement SAP. What they will do first, they will find companies who are expert in doing this. They do the research and call bidding who can implement their SAP, who can implement ERP system for them. Now there are 10 different companies who will send a bidding. Company 1, Company 2, Company 3, like Accenture, Capgemini, TCS, Infosys, Wipro, and PwC, Deloitte, KPMG. All these companies will come for a competition with a bidding. They come up with their bidding prices. Now it's a BP choice to decide which company to assign this contract. They will decide based on their parameters. They have their own criteria. It can be cost, might be one criteria for them, or another thing, they might see the reputation and experience, right? Which company has more experience, who can do this better, who can deliver faster, who can do with more accurately, who will do with less errors. All these things they will see in the market. They will also get a feedback, right? Whenever you want to purchase something or whenever you want to take something, obviously you will also take a feedback or a reviews. You try to research about that company or about that person. For example, you want to enroll with me, you might have also done some research, or somebody might have told something about me. So that's the reason you are here, right? Similarly, if BP want to decide among all the bidders, let's say there are multiple companies who has given the bidding. Let's say Deloitte has given, and PwC has given, and KPMG has also sent, and we also have, let's say, Infosys, and we also have a Wipro, and we have Capgemini, and there is a TCS, and there are many companies who has given the bidding. All these companies has given the bidding. Okay, bidding by these many companies. Okay. Now it's a BP choice now to decide to whom to give it. Let's say I'm just taking randomly. They have given an option to TCS to implement their SAP. Now this will become implementation partner. TCS will start implementing this project for them for one country, and upon satisfaction, BP will take a call after project go live, right? Go live in the sense we'll talk about all the go live also later. So project is gone live. After that, they will decide the overall performance. How did TCS do? Is it worth for me to continue their contract for the next rollout or not? I want to continue the same thing for other country. Can I give it to them? Considering all the parameters, they will decide it. Now, so far TCS is the implementation partner. For one project they are done. Maybe second project, if they feel that it is very expensive and it is not going the way they are expecting, they can also change this to someone else. They might also call for a bidding once again. They will see the biddings, they will assign to someone else. That is called implementation partner. This TCS will start implementing SAP for BP. When they start implementing for a BP, what happens? So they will gather all the requirements. Then they will also do all other stuff. Well, I'll talk about it, how to do the implementation later, but high level for you to understand two terminologies I want you to be familiar with. What do you mean by implementation partner? What do you mean by support partner? That's it. If you are aware about these three terminologies, client, implementation partner, and support partner, later everything will be easy for you. So whenever I say client, that is the business to whom we are going to work, who has the original requirement. Okay. Now, implementation partner is somebody who is going to implement SAP for a client. Once implementation is completed, it is a gone live. Support partner comes into picture. Considering the budget, BP now assign this for a AMS or a support to different company. Maybe this time they will pick it like CG, Capgemini, to support it. What they will do, Capgemini will continue supporting. Here, implementation partner can be different and support partner also can be different. At times, it can be same as well. If everything goes fine for them, they can decide to have TCS itself as support partner. But most likely, they will switch to different partner. First criteria is budget. TCS for implementing, they might charge very huge. That is okay. For me to have that better experience, I have to go for it. No other choice. Right? Then what I will do later to reduce my ongoing cost, because implementation will happen for the first 5 years or 6 years. After that, for a lifetime, I wanted to maintain this. So I will always look for next recurring cost has to be low, right? Everybody would love to make recurring cost as low as possible. If it is a one time, anybody is okay to invest. But if it is a recurring cost, everybody would want to keep it low. For that reason, they will look for a support partner, maybe the different company who can quote at lesser price. If TCS itself will give support project, I mean support stuff for them at a lower price than others, obviously they will choose TCS itself. That's again different story. There is no question about is mandatory to whether they can give it or not. It's all about their criteria. Okay. We'll talk about this also in support later in detail about it. For us to understand a high level in our training also, we'll touch base all these projects. If you are able to understand all these projects easily, and if you are able to practice everything, and cracking interview is a very simple. You nothing to worry about how to crack the interview. It's a very simple thing where you can easily crack these interviews. Okay. So now, so far, whatever we discussed, do you guys have any questions? Do let me know if you have any questions here so far. If no questions, I think let's say that how to install GUI, that I'll just take a couple of minutes. I don't want to take much time. For Windows, maybe those who are using Windows laptops or desktops, this method which I'm going to share will help you. I'll share a link which is available in my YouTube channel as well, where I can share with all of you those who confirmed your email IDs with me. Those who have not confirmed your email IDs, which means you have not registered through the links that I shared, right? So then you just let me know. Then I can include your names. I think whoever has already registered, either with a Google form or a TalkMate link, you will get all this information. I'll straight away send it to your email IDs. Then you will be able to do that. I'll share this link. I'll put that for your reference here. So the link that is required for you to access is, so let me give me a sec so that I'll give it to you. So, okay, if no questions, I think let me stop recording here. What I would do is, I would recommend you to refer to this video, how to install SAP. There is a software which is GUI zip file available. You just download that file and unzip it first, which I have explained in the video also. You can easily use and install in your laptops. Okay, the minimum requirement or what you need to have is, if you have a minimum 4 GB RAM with i3 processor, which is more than sufficient. The memory wise, I'm not particular on the RAM, minimum 4 GB. And anything above that, like a i5 processor, 8 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM, is still fantastic. Okay. Memory wise, that's okay. If you have a 256 GB RAM, still, the hard disk, we are still okay. The systems which is running with SSD hard disk, will have a faster performance. The hard disk, if you are using HDD, the old hard disk method, it will have a little slowness in your system. That's a one hardware requirement I would recommend you to take care of it. Okay.